All right, so let's start labeling these arteries as we go through the body. And what we're going to start with is blood comes up, leaving the heart from the the left ventricle. It's going to come up through here, so we have to label this and put a little asterisk up here. And we're going to put up in the corner up here, we're going to write there ascending aorta. And from the ascending aorta, we only have two branches coming off the ascending aorta, and they are the right and left coronary arteries. And these are all arteries. As you can see at the bottom of the page, they're all labeled arteries, so we're not going to put an A on these, just so we know that. So now we're going to come up and we're going to have the arch of the aorta. Off the arch of the aorta, we're going to have three branches. All right, so the first branch here off the arch of the aorta, only on the right side, and I'm going to use a smaller, little finer pen so I can fit all these in here and you can read them hopefully. All right, this is going to be our brachiocephalic artery. And we only have a single brachiocephalic artery that goes to the right side. Okay. The second branch that we're going to do is we come off the arch here, and I want you to know these in order, the three branches off the arch of the aorta. All right. Second branch right here is going to be the left common carotid. Left common carotid artery right there. Okay. Enlarge it just a little bit. Okay. And then the third branch coming off here is our left subclavian. So a little quick recap here. Off the ascending aorta, we only have the right and left coronary arteries. Then we have the three branches coming off the arch. The first branch is the brachiocephalic, which we only see on the right side, the left common carotid, and the left subclavian. So what you have to think of now is that the brachiocephalic artery acts like the arch of the aorta going to the right. Everything coming off the arch after the brachiocephalic will come off of the brachiocephalic on the other side. Okay, so we only have one label showing both sides of these. All right, so as we come up here from the left common carotid, okay, it's going to split. Part of it's going to go inside and part of it's going to go outside. The part that goes inside is going to take blood to our brain. Okay, so this is the left internal carotid. Okay, and the one over here, as we come up the brachiocephalic, here's our right common carotid here, which we won't label because it's the same thing. And on the outside, on both sides, so we're just going to label this one over here. This is going to be our right external carotid. Okay, because that's our right common carotid right there. So the two branches off the common carotid are the internal and the external carotid arteries. The next branch that comes off here, all right, is going to be right there. That's going to be our vertebral artery. And that's the other main blood supply, if you'll remember, to our brain. So our two main blood supplies to our brain are the internal carotid and the vertebral carotid arteries. All right, so here's my vertebral artery on this side right here. This little branch coming off right there is called the thyrocervical artery. Okay, and then when we go to the right side, we have the left subclavian now coming off here. Okay, that's my third branch, remember, off the arch of the aorta. So my next branch off the brachiocephalic is my right subclavian coming right there. Thyrocervical and vertebral are not branches, they're branches off of the subclavian. Okay, then we go to the region of our armpit here. So now we have our axillary artery right there. Okay, as we travel down the arm, we'll just do this side here. This is our word for arm, brachial artery right there. The brachial is going to come down and split once we get to the bottom. So let's go to the other side here, trace out our brachial artery here. Okay, and then that's going to split. Branch of it's going to come to the medial side of our forearm. The other branch is going to go to the lateral side. Okay, so the one on the medial side is simply going to be our ulnar artery. And the one going to the lateral side, I'm just going to label it here. make it easier. So ulnar on the medial side. Obviously, this has to be the radial artery then on that side right there. Okay. And then we get into the palm of the hand right here. We have the superficial palmar arch. Get where I can see that. Okay, and then deep to that, you're going to have a deep palmar arch underneath it. So that's going to be the deep in there. Palmar arch. Okay, and then all these little ones that are going to go to our digits are just simply known as the digital arteries right there. Okay, so it's going to be the same thing over on this side. We just won't label them all because you can see them on the other side. Right hand side is going to be the same as the left hand side is right there. Okay, so hopefully you can see all the spellings on those. Pause it and enlarge it if you want to. Okay, and then we're going to come back up here. Now, as we go from the arch of the aorta, we're going to head down the descending aorta as we go down the abdominal cavity. Above the diaphragm, remember we said it's the thoracic aorta, and one branch that comes off of that up here is called the phrenic artery, which supplies blood to our diaphragm. So this is the phrenic right here. Blood to the diaphragm. And then there are a few other vessels up here as well that we can't see. So we're going to put a double asterisk, and we're going to label that up here with a double asterisk. So think of the things you're going to see up in your thorax up here. Okay, so this is going to be the thoracic aorta. And you're going to see things in here like the esophageal arteries for your esophagus, okay? Intercostal arteries for the intercostal muscles, okay? Phrenic artery is still considered part of that, which we just labeled because we could actually see that one. And then we have to the lungs, the bronchial arteries, to the bronchi in the lungs, all right? So those are the four branches coming off the thoracic aorta. Now we head down below the diaphragm, and we have to label all these structures that we see in here. So first branch coming off of the abdominal aorta, you can see it here, okay? There are three parts to it. So here's the other big thing to memorize, okay? Besides the three branches off the arch of the aorta, this whole structure is known as the celiac trunk. And we got to squeeze some things in here. All right, so the first small little vessel right there that you see coming off the celiac trunk is the left gastric artery. Left gastric artery right there, okay? Then this branch coming here is going to the spleen. So this is simply the splenic artery. Takes blood to the spleen. And the third branch going on the other side over here is taking blood to our liver. So this is the hepatic artery over here. Okay? That's the hepatic artery. Hepato means liver. Then we come down our abdominal aorta a little further. We have these two vessels taking blood to our kidneys. So these would be our renal arteries. R-E-N-A-L, so renal refers to the kidneys. All right. We're going to draw a little line here showing that there's some glands right on top of the kidneys, on the superior part of the kidneys, and those are called the suprarenal glands. So these are the suprarenal arteries. The more common term for suprarenal would be the adrenal arteries. Okay, so those are the adrenal arteries coming off there. Then we have this branch coming off right here, which is known as the superior, so I'm going to abbreviate superior, S-U-P, mesenteric. So the superior mesenteric arteries take blood to the small intestine and the first portion of the large intestine. Okay. As we come down here, we are still in our abdominal aorta, so we're going to label that over on this side. ABD, abdominal aorta. Excuse me. Then we have these two vessels, one going to the right, one going to the left. In the male, they are known as the testicular arteries. In the female, they're called the ovarian arteries. So the generic term we use for these are known as the gonadal arteries. So ovarian arteries in female, testicular arteries in the male. And then the last branch we have here coming off of our abdominal aorta is the inferior. Let me get it over here. We can inferior mesenteric. Inferior mesenteric artery, which takes blood to the last half of the large intestine. Okay. All right, now we go down to the lower legs here. All right, at the bottom of the abdominal aorta, we're going to split, and we have to take blood down to our lower extremities. So I'm just going to trace out my vessels here real simply so we can see a lot of these. All right, to the front, to the back over here. All right, so these here vessels, the first ones that come off of our split down there, are going to be the right and left common carotid artery, or common iliac. Remember the ilium, our iliac bone, right? Then we have a branch that goes inside here. This would be the internal iliac. It takes blood to the inside. So the one then going here to the outside over here, I'm going to put a little branch there, okay? That is going to be the external iliac. And then we have a branch coming off here. That's our deep femoral. And remember, for every one of these we have on the left, we have one on the right. So deep femoral artery. And then right in our thigh, obviously right there, is our femoral artery. Okay. When we go behind the knee down here, this is the popliteal artery. And then on the leg, you can see one branch is going to the back, one's going to the front. So the one that's going to the front here, I'm going to go ahead and just label this right here. This is going to be the anterior tibial artery. And the one on the back side obviously should be the posterior tibial artery right there. This one branch that's being pointed to here is the peroneal, or more commonly now known as the fibular artery, because it's kind of on the outside, which is hard to see from that view right there. So if you're looking at this version over here, this is going to be our anterior tibial as well, right here. But it's easier to see with the leg splayed out like that. Okay. Then we go to the top of the foot here as we come down, and we go right over the top of the foot. That vessel right there is the dorsalis pedis, pedal for foot, artery, and then all these little individual ones here are our digital arteries to our toes, right? So you can see these are all arteries, so they would all be labeled artery after that. And hopefully you kind of have a pretty good idea now of the circulation of blood by way of the arteries as blood, oxygenated blood, gets delivered to the different tissues of the body.